Christy McNichol was making a movie in Paris in 1984 when her body began to shut down. She lost 96 pounds. She couldn't stop shaking her hands. She was having trouble sleeping. She was hungry. Because she couldn't keep going, production stopped for a whole year. It was called a chemical mismatch by the studio. But there was more to the truth than that. She worked since she was 6 years old, hid who she really was, and tried to make everyone happy except herself for years. It all came back to her at once, and what happened next changed everything. Her birthday is September 11th, and she was born in Los Angeles on that day. She lived in a house where work never stopped from the time she was a baby. Her dad built things with his bare hands, and her mom worked long nurse shifts to make ends meet. They lived in the San Fernando Valley, where there was a lot of noise and activity. Christy and her siblings saw their parents work hard all day without stopping. A Christian from Lebanon, her mother brought that with her, and her father added Scottish and Irish roots to the mix. Over time, this mix gave Christy a look that made her stand out in every room she entered. When she was 6 years old, she was already doing ads in her neighborhood. She wasn't sure what it meant, but she knew her parents needed help. She knew why people were looking at her. Those early shoots set the stage for a future she hadn't planned but has since come to accept. When her parents split up, things changed quickly. Even though she was only 3 at the time, it changed her forever. Her mother had to raise 3 kids by herself all of a sudden, and her ex-husband wasn't there to help. So, she worked extra shifts and until her feet hurt. Christy grew up with that stress. Afterward, she said, "I never had the kind of childhood where you wake up and wonder what games you're going to play." She got ready for interviews, shoots, and long days in front of strangers with cameras when she woke up. From 1973 to 1976, her routine looked like it was made for an adult. She spent her days on commercial shoots. The rest were filled by auditions. She only remembers bits and pieces of her childhood. A job that required all of her energy took its place. It had a big effect on her. It made her strong, but it also left scars that followed her into adulthood. After many years, when she was having mental health issues, she linked some of them to the early years when she had to keep acting. The mix of cultures that made her family special also gave her a striking look. Her skin was warm and dark because she was born in Lebanon. The lines and tones on her dad's side were sharper and lighter. That look was seen right away in Hollywood. The casting directors loved it because it made her stand out at a time when most young actors looked the same. Christy was proud of that mix. She often said that her background helped her connect with people on TV and understand them better. She did more than act. With her speech and look, she made people feel like she knew something about them. Her quiet intensity came from the culture threads that were built into her from birth. Even though there was a lot of stress, little bits of luck came along at the right time. A family friend helped me with one of those times. The famous creator of I Love Lucy, Desi Arnaz, helped Christy and her brother Jimmy get jobs and other opportunities. He pushed them to do early commercial work that a family that was still struggling to make ends meet could not afford. Christy loved telling the story of the time she told a director that Desi Arnaz had sent her work. After giving her 2 quick looks and a nod, the director hired her right away. She was already an actor when she was 6 years old. And when she was 14, she took on the part that changed everything. On the ABC show Family, she played Buddy Lawrence. Everyone on the set could tell right away that she was more than just talented. People believed everything she said because she had spark, timing, and a mix of innocence and grit. It wasn't just Christy who was trying to get through. Jimmy was right there with her, working to get his own parts and moving forward. They were rivals, worked together, and were very loyal to each other. They were in ads together. They were also co-hosts of an ABC entertainment show for young people in 1978. Jimmy became a big star. But even back then, Christy's roles in Family and Little Darlings got more attention. They stayed close, though. In the 1980s, when Christy was dealing with bipolar disease, Jimmy never got lost. He was there for her through the fear, the confusion, and the long way to getting back on track. Both of them felt like they had grown up too quickly and needed to hold on to each other when life got too tough. Even though Christy had been working for years, her rise seemed to happen suddenly. Everyone remembers the time he played Buddy Lawrence in 1976. She was only 14 years old when she joined the cast, but the people around her admired how honest she was. The show dealt with real problems, and Christy felt a lot of the show's sad times. She wasn't connected to anyone in the cast, and she wasn't found in a big surprise. She walked into the audition room and turned it on. The whole country soon knew her name. That part changed the history of TV and made her one of the most famous young stars in the US. Not only did her ability wow viewers, it also wowed people in the business. She got her first Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in 1977, when she was only 15 years old. In most states, she was too young to drive, but she was one of the youngest Emmy winners ever and she stood there with the prize. She got her second Emmy for the same role after 2 years. People in the news still remember that she called the two prizes her bookends. Those wins were more than just prizes. They showed how much she connected with people. People didn't just look at her, they got it. By 1980, she was so famous that the network moved her from supporting to lead role, which didn't happen very often. That year, her nod for Outstanding Lead Actress proved what everyone already knew. She made the show. She changed with Buddy, taking the role from a little girl to a more complex teen, and the audience went through each change with her. It was a big deal for that young talent to be nominated for an Emmy because it showed how strong they could be when they have a chance to shine. Christy kept herself busy even though she worked full-time on Family. Some of the TV shows she was in were Starsky and Hutch, The Bionic Woman, Love American Style, and The Love Boat. With each show, she learned how to play different characters and showed that she wasn't stuck in one type of part. People loved how she would show up in strange places. Producers loved working with her because she always did a great job. Through those guest parts, she became known to millions of people who might not have seen her family otherwise. She was on stage with Karen Carpenter in The Carpenters at Christmas in December 1977. The show was a holiday special that more than 25 million people watched. She sang the Christmas alphabet and took part in comedy acts and group numbers. The country saw that night that she wasn't just an actress, she could also sing, perform live, and make people all over the country feel happy during the holidays. Fans remember it as one of her best performances, probably because she felt even more like a star when she was with the Carpenters. After that, Christy and Jimmy's disco record came out on RCA Records in June 1978. It had hits like He's So Fine, which got to number 70 on the Billboard Hot 100. Stars like Brooke Shields and Burt Reynolds came to the album's launch party at Studio 54. And for a moment, Christy and Jimmy thought they were on the same wave as the big names of the time. In its first year, the record sold about 100,000 copies. It wasn't a huge hit, but it has a quiet place in the history of pop culture, and fans of the 1970s still have copies of it because they love the way the siblings interact with each other. They were both co-hosts of the All-Star Saturday preview show for ABC that same year. It played in September 1978 and had young stars like Donny Osmond and Adam Rich on it. They played songs from their record and mixed music with interviews and funny skits. That show was seen by 18 million people. People loved seeing the McNichol siblings on stage together, just like they did when they were kids. It was the best part of their careers together and summed up the fun, bright spirit of late 1970s TV. The first movie Christy McNichols was in was Burt Reynolds' dark comedy The End, which came out in 1978. Something about her made people stop and pay attention as soon as she walked into that world. The daughter of Reynolds' character was played by her. Their part was small, but she added something that made it feel bigger. In the movie, there was a man with a terminal sickness who kept trying to kill himself but failed each time. He kept going from one failed attempt to the next until he ended up in a mental hospital and met a character played by Dom DeLuise. Christy shared scenes with Sally Field, Strother Martin, Joanne Woodward, and Myrna Loy, all of whom were huge in the room. Still, she seemed at ease with them. Later, Reynolds said that he changed the movie's original ending to give people hope by letting Sonny live instead of ending on the darker version that was first shot. The movie came out on June 2, 1978. The story got mixed reviews from reviewers, but many people looked at the teen girl and thought she had been doing this for years. In the same year, she played in the dramatic TV movie Summer of My German Soldier. During World War II, the story was about a Jewish-American girl named Patty Bergen who found a German POW who was on the run and hid him in her attic. Christie played Patty, and the role made her feel like she had to give up something deep inside. After the soldier was found and Patty's world fell apart, her father said, "You are dead to me." Those words cut right through the screen. That one moment showed how much she could handle for her age. Critics praised her for how well she handled the complicated emotions in the movie, which played on CBS on December 17, 1978. It was the part that showed she was more than just a talk show star. In 1980, she was in the thriller with her brother Jimmy. The light made her blind, and the story pulled her into another world. Christie played his sister Janet, who tried to save him but almost got caught up in the cult's grip. Jimmy played a youngster who ran away to get away from a strict religious cult. People were shocked by how real the brother-sister relationship seemed on TV when it aired on CBS on April 13, 1980. The movie bravely dealt with topics that most people would normally avoid, which helped it do well at the box office. In 1978, she also featured with Linda Lavin in the movie Like Mom, Like Me, which was about a teen daughter and a mother who just got divorced and was trying to start over. The story went through new relationships, sad times, and changes in their home as they tried to fix what was wrong. Christie's skill at going from funny to sad scenes gave the movie an edge. That helped get people to watch it. It was another thing she did to show she could act any feeling a script gave her. All of this progress turned into something amazing when she turned 18. In 1980, she was making six figures a year, which was very rare for a Hollywood girl at the time. She had already won 2 Emmys for her part as Buddy Lawrence on the TV show Family, and her TV movies were getting a lot of attention. They thought she was a sure thing and that just being there would get people to watch. After that, her shocking big break came with Little Darlings in 1980. Tatum O'Neal and she played Angel together in the movie, which was about 2 girls who made a controversial bet to see who would lose their virginity first at summer camp. When it came out on March 21, 1980, parents, reviewers, and anyone else who thought teen movies should be clean slammed it right away. The debate made teens even more interested, and by June, the movie had made over $10 million. A tough exterior and a weak core made Christie's performance stand out. It was almost like an icon to say, "Don't let the title fool you." It kept getting more and more attention, and soon the movie was at the center of arguments across the country about what kids should see on TV. Parents' shock was written about in newspapers, schools didn't let people talk about it, and in some states, the movie was even taken off the shelves. Teens kept getting in line to watch it, though. There were reports in the tabloids that she was dating Matt Dillon because of how well they worked together in the movie, but the truth was simple. They played a part. Still, the way they were interacting with each other made the movie even more famous. People started tying their names in ways that kept the attention on them. Also, critics spoke out. A lot of them said that her performance was one of the strongest from a young actor in years. They talked about how she was both innocent and mature, and they kept going back to the emotional scenes that people thought about long after the movie was over. Award nominations came her way, including a Golden Globe mention for Best Supporting Actress. She never became as famous as some of her co-stars, but this movie made her a household name for a whole generation. The movie Little Darlings became a cult favorite by the mid-1980s, especially among teens who saw themselves in its mix of defiance, fear, friendship, and interest. Christie's part was the one that most people thought of when they thought about that time. Teenagers kept coming back to it and telling others about it. As she became more well-known, she took on bigger roles, like in The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia in 1981. In a movie with Dennis Quaid, Mark Hamill, and others, she played Amanda Child in a Southern drama with music and a bit of chaos behind the scenes. Hollywood was most shocked by how much she made. For the part, she was paid 6 figures, which is a lot of money for someone her age. The budget for the movie was between $6.1 million and $14 million, and while it did okay at the box office, her performance once again stuck out. Then things took a big turn when she played in Neil Simon's Only When I Laugh in 1981. The movie had big names like Marsha Mason, James Coco, and Joan Hackett in it. Christy played Polly, the daughter of an actor who was sobering up, and the part required a lot of emotional weight. Critics were surprised by how mature she was, since they still thought of her as the kid from TV. 3 Academy Award nominees were made for the movie, and her work put her right up there with actors who had been doing their job for decades. In 1982, she was nominated for a Golden Globe for the same movie. Many people were shocked because she was only 19. In the adult category, she was battling with actresses who had been in the business for a lot longer. Being so young and now part of Hollywood's elite group, seeing her at the event was like seeing someone take a giant step into an endless future. For her role in Only When I Laugh, she won the Young Artist Award for Best Leading Young Actress that same year. This meant that she was being recognized by both awards for young people and big names in the business at the same time. That balance had never been reached by many young artists. Her win was covered in magazines, news stories for teens, and celebrity news, and it was the high point of her early career. When Christy McNichol appeared in Sam Fuller's 1982 movie White Dog, it was one of the strangest and hardest times in her career. She felt the weight of that job for years. The story was mostly about a German dog that was taught to attack black people. A horrible thought that her character only comes up with after getting the dog. The scenes were real and upsetting, and they showed racism in a way that executives at the company thought was too close to the truth. Paramount wouldn't let the movie come out in the US because they thought it was too violent and harsh, even though Fuller made it to send a clear message against racism. Getting angry, he told studio reps they couldn't be on the set. The movie got great reviews in other parts of the world because he wouldn't change the truth he was trying to show. But in the US, it didn't get shown. It had a message that racism can be taught like a skill for more than 25 years, until it finally came out on DVD in 2008. And sometimes it's so ingrained that it's almost impossible to forget it. After just a few months, Christy did something totally different when she made the pirate movie. Christopher Atkins led a bright musical in 1982 that was based on the Pirates of Penzance. It opened in 757 theaters on August 6, 1982. A little more than $2.55 million was made in the first weekend, but the movie had a hard time after that. People thought it was a failure for such a big production because it only made a little over $8 million around the world. It was called stupid and weak by critics, and Christy even got nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Actress. It dropped to number 13 at the box office by the end of its second week because Star Wars came out again, which kept people away. Her voice was still clear. It got to number 166 on the Billboard 200, and her song How Can I Live Without Her went up to number 71 on the Billboard Hot 100. At her worst, she was still able to leave a mark. But what happened in her personal life soon after was much worse than anything she went through on screen. Christy had a breakdown in 1984 while shooting Just the Way You Are in Paris. This event changed the course of her life. In her late 20s, she had been taking care of other people for so long that she hadn't noticed how much she was losing herself while shooting. One minute she was fine, and then she lost it. She shook all the time. She cried all the time. Because she couldn't eat or sleep, she lost 96 pounds. Every hour of the day, her hands were shaking. For a whole year, production stopped because she couldn't keep going. Even though her brother Jimmy stayed with her, the slide couldn't be stopped. By calling it a chemical imbalance, the studio tried to make the fact sound less bad. But she was having a manic episode, which was later linked to bipolar illness. As a child star, she had to work nonstop for years, hide her sexuality, and try to please everyone. All of this had caught up with her. For months, she never went back to finish shooting in Paris, and this crisis changed the way she looked for stability and healing. For her, it all came back to something she had dealt with since she was a child. She worked and had adult responsibilities before she knew how to set limits. No matter who asked her, she couldn't say no, not even her mother. She tried to please everyone, but the stress slowly drained her without her realizing it. It was so hard for her mind to handle all of the demands she had by the time she was in her late 20s. After the fact, she talked about it, which helped show the hidden costs of being popular as a child and the need to protect mental health from a young age. Mostly for kids who were forced to become adults they didn't want to be. Christy went back to work for a while after everything she went through. In 1988, she joined the cast of Empty Nest, a show based off of The Golden Girls where she played Barbara Weston. The show was a big hit for NBC. It ran from 1988 to 1995 and had a peak audience of almost 15 million people. Christie was in over 100 episodes of the show from 1988 to 1992 and quickly became a fan favorite. But she left out of the blue in the 5th season, and fans were confused because no one gave a good reason. Her character was written out, and Lisa Riefel was cast as her new daughter. It felt like the show's whole rhythm changed, and their loss was felt for the rest of the season. The truth came out later that year, while the 5th season was being filmed. She was told in secret that she had bipolar disorder. At the time, Hollywood didn't talk much about mental health, so no one knew what was wrong with her. She had major depression, mood swings, and unstable energy that made it hard for her to handle the long hours and constant stress of a weekly sitcom. She went to therapy a lot and looked to her brother Jimmy for help. Back then, there weren't many treatment choices. She knew she couldn't go on without putting her health at risk. Empty Nest hurt, but it gave her a place to stay alive. She only came back once, for a short time in the series' end on June 17, 1995. Fans got one last look at the character they loved in this short but important scene. Since then, she has only been in movies and not in real life. In the late 1990s, she did some voice work for cartoon movies like Extreme Ghostbusters and Invasion America, but she never went back to work in movies. In 2001, she quit for good. It was clear from what she said at the time that she had finally made the choice to be healthy. She told herself that she had played many parts, but now it was time to play herself. It was the best thing for her health. Around the same time, a calm part of her life began. In the early 1990s, Christie fell in love with Marty Allen, a clinical psychologist and business owner who shared her desire to help kids. They didn't tell anyone about their relationship for almost 20 years because Christie was still dealing with the pressures of being gay and having mental health issues. They kept building a life together until 2012, when Christie, then 49 years old, came out to the public. She said she wanted to help LGBTQ teens who were being picked on or who felt alone. Her message was easy to understand. She hoped that being honest would make one young person feel seen. People loved and supported her when she told them, and her bravery became another important part of her legacy. She found a different kind of peace after leaving Hollywood. She started to teach drama, help young actors, and do volunteer work for causes she cared about. She did yoga, played tennis, went on many trips, and spent time in Hawaii, which always made her feel grounded. Her life was all about health, kindness, and giving back. She loved her miniature dachshunds. She cared more about people than about praise. She looked out for kids and pets. She stayed close to her partner and learned that low-key days and easy habits could bring happiness.